Am I the a-hole for telling my friend that I'm sorry her parents don't love her as much as mine love me? I, 22 female, have a friend named Amy, 22 female, who I met in college. Currently we are in our last semester of college. I live alone, but she shares her apartment with 2 other people. We never really spoke about our finances much, but I know that both of our parents currently pay our rent. The issue started when we talked about our future plans. I told her that I'm probably going to get a job and do my master's at the same time so that I can save up a little, but also to finally have my own money to spend on some things that I love and to travel. She laughed at me and asked me what kind of salary I expect while working part-time to be able to afford all that. I shrugged and said I didn't have any expenses that I'd need to cover really, just food and that's it. She looked shocked and asked me about rent and stuff, and I said New York parents will be paying for it. She then went on a rant about becoming an adult, how she can't wait to be independent, how she doesn't want to take money from her parents and stuff like that. For the most part one tried to nod my head and listen to her, but then she said something like, "I'd feel like a bad daughter if I were you." And that really made me feel embarrassed. My parents want to pay for my apartment, they can easily afford it, and I'm not the type of person to be ungrateful for it. I spend a lot of time with them, I know they don't lack money for anything, they travel, own their house, have a good retirement plan. They don't mind paying for me and I don't mind taking it. We have a good relationship. I know this won't be forever and I don't expect it to be. Just a few years until I finish my degree and get a higher paying job. I got annoyed and told her to drop it, we can talk about something else, but she continued talking about how her parents want her to be a real adult, how I'll never want to be ambitious unless I struggle, and just more and more nonsense. Not sure how important it is, but between the 2 of us, my grades are significantly better and I'm a few exams ahead of her in terms of passing this semester. I just cut her off and said, well, I don't know, maybe my parents love me more than yours love you, so they want to pay. I'm sorry for that. Can we now talk about something else? We didn't talk since, and I do feel bad because I know that love has nothing to do with money, and looking back, it's such a rude thing to say, but I just said it to shut her up because she was insulting me and calling me spoiled for no reason. I wasn't even the one to start this conversation, nor did I probe into her finances. She was the one who kept it going. Ever since that day I feel a pit in New York's stomach and I really didn't want to insult her. Info edit, just adding some stuff because I feel like it may be relevant. I feel like Amy's intention wasn't genuine because she currently accepts her parents paying rent, food, utilities, everything. So do I. The conversation was about after college. I mentioned my academic success because she said I will never be ambitious when I try really hard. We also don't live in the USA, and parent support isn't so uncommon. And lastly, while this may not convince people, I really do appreciate my parents and everything they do for me. I don't plan to leech on them, and this is something they know, and that's what matters to me.
Everyone sucks here. She pushed you and was being rude and combative. However, you didn't have to engage in the conversation anymore. Once she refused to change the subject, you could have just left. While I understand what you said was out of retaliation, it wasn't necessary and was hurtful. Honestly, though, I don't think it's a huge loss to not speak to her. She doesn't sound like she's a positive person to be around.
I gotta be honest, I'm having a pretty visceral reaction to this response. If someone says hurtful things to you, and you communicate that they're hurtful and they keep doing it, you should say hurtful things back. Clearly, appealing to their empathy is not working. Next comes appealing to their sense of self-preservation. You hurt me, I hurt you back. Worse. Don't do that anymore. Then this person takes that hurt and internalizes it. Gee, I feel like shit about myself. Probably shouldn't go around casting aspersions. I'm reading this response as if someone insults you and keeps insulting you, turn the other cheek and don't stand up for yourself, which now that I think about it is a pretty typical Reddit response, in that it is, forgive me, soft as baby shit.
Not the a-hole. She started throwing stones with, I'd feel like a bad daughter if I were you, and then you said. She continued talking about how her parents want her to be a real adult, how I'll never want to be ambitious unless I struggle. Sounds like you gave her a slice of humble pie.
With some shut the fuck up apple juice to wash it down.
I really can't blame you for that. She wouldn't shut up insulting you, so you shut her up. I would think she's the one who owes an apology. If she wasn't being so obnoxious and judgmental towards you, wouldn't have snapped back.
You absolutely can blame her for that, lol. Being righteous, angry, and over-justified is still not an appropriate response just because you don't like someone. Reasoning like yours is why we have such a compassion deficit in the world.
Am I the a-hole for not serving my brother-in-law before the children, causing a huge family fight? There is a little context needed here, so I'm just gonna start with that. I, 31 female, am the oldest of 7 with ages ranging from 18 to 31. 6 of us have partners married. 4 of us have a combined 13 children aging between 2 months and 12 years. Our father is still alive, but our mother passed away a year ago. We are a pretty traditional family in which women stay home to tend to the home and men go out to work. While we have a family ranch where most of us live on the property and we all pitch in. We also have a weekly family dinner at Dad's house. I do have to say, because I know someone will bring it up, no, we are not Mormon. Now that that's out of the way, I have a new brother-in-law, Dan, 23 male. Dan and my sister just recently came back from their honeymoon and have started coming to the family dinners. Dan, being the great family man he is, refused to come to any of them before marriage. I'm not 100% sure why, and I never really cared to know. I can't say I really ever liked him, but he had never done anything to cause it. So, our last family dinner. We don't put all of the food on the table. We have multiple tables, so instead, we fix everyone's plates in the kitchen and everyone comes and grabs it as it's fixed. As such, we always fix the kids' plates first. The first time Dan saw this, he seemed kind of put off by it but didn't say anything. The second time it happened, he spoke up and voiced his frustrations, saying the men slave away in the heat all day so they should be served first, that they were hungry. My dad asked him why would a grown man need to eat before his family got fed first. This quickly spiraled into an argument after emotions ran high. At one point, I finally yelled for everyone to shut up and sit down before telling Dan that until he was the one serving the food, the kids would eat first, and if I had my way, he will be served last at every family event again. The dinner ended pretty quickly after, but now I'm starting to wonder if I should have just fixed him a plate to end the argument.
4 of us have a combined 13 children. Make 5 of you have 14 children. Your sister has one named Dan. I'm starting to wonder if I should have just fixed him a plate to end the argument. If you cave and don't nip this crap in the bud now, he will know he can get away with worse, and it will get worse. If he does this kind of thing at the very first family dinner, you know there is worse waiting in the wings. This is just a preview. The groundwork for getting him banned should begin now. Tell the others in the family this and what is coming down the pike. Get mutual support to inform the newlywed sister, as a united group, that he is on probation for this outrageous conduct and that she needs to get him to behave or he is out. Which he won't tolerate, because how dare a woman or her family tell him what to do. If you are lucky, he will refuse to come. Everyone needs to be prepared for a showdown if he does. If he acts out, he's out the door or, at a minimum, informed later not to be coming back. Also, obviously not the a-hole.
OP should get a baby's bib and pacifier and keep it ready for the next time Dan gets upset at the kids being fed first. OP can whip out the bib and say, "Here you go, Dan, you were such a baby last time we got this for you." And also crack jokes about Dan eating at the kids' table since he wants to be served first.
They should make sure their sister is safe. He felt comfortable acting this way in front of his in-laws. Imagine how he treats her at home.
No, OP, you should not have just fixed him a plate to end the argument. Dan shouldn't have started the argument in the first place, especially at your dad's house, when your dad has already told him to quit it. Your response was the right one, including telling Dan that if you had your way, he'd be served last at every family event. Not the a-hole.
Dan has testosterone poisoning. The world awaits a cure.
Removing the source of testosterone seems quick and easy. A veterinarian knows how.
Not the a-hole. Dan is new to the family and wants to demand changes to family traditions without earning the capital to ask for them. He asked anyway, and in an aggressive way that feels like it bordered on being a demand rather than a request. He argued and pushed and made a scene, during which he showed disrespect for your father and for the authority of the women in the kitchen, and in your family, the kitchen is the women's purview. He didn't do any of the work related to making or serving dinner but wanted to change the rules to center himself. And you stood your ground, as did your father. You chastised him mildly for his lack of manners, lack of respect, and willingness to disrupt the family meal. How could you possibly be the a-hole here?
He didn't even ask. He voiced his frustrations. Ick.
At someone else's table. And kept arguing when Grandpa said this is how the family dinner works at my house.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to see more interesting videos.